how to get in the flow by overcoming your resistance and finally get in the zone. By first of all becoming aware of these 4 different flow states, which sometimes we kind of like, wander in between. And then we actually wonder what exactly is our flow states. And when we think or we have felt we have found it, we then often create a lot of resistance. That is getting us out of that state. So how would I define the flow state? The flow states, it's the kind of, where you feel like in the zone of total immersion and total alignment with really the greatest aspects of your soul. It's almost like a higher state of divine consciousness. It's that state where you can feel total presence with your essence, where you have overcome your self-doubts. You have raised yourself above your fears and your doubts. You're not longer projecting all your past bad experiences in the present moment with the expectation that also becomes your future. You have raised yourself above that. You feel like total inspiration is flowing through you. It's almost like your divinity is flowing through you of your highest joy, which of course you are also able to express it unconditionally with the rest of the world. There are no conditions like I do this because I expect this in return. And because there are no conditions and expectations, things become effortlessly. You do it because you freaking love to do it. That's the thing. And you don't do it because you expect something like a financial reward or recognition in return. This actually makes you a very authentic person, a very attractive person. Therefore, you will notice that synchronicities starts to reveal itself to you in the most unexpected ways. Life becomes magical. So, if this is really, let's say, the highest form of being in our human experience, we all desire, to be in that flow state or in the zone states, and many people have already done that. Many great achievers are already in that state constantly. Some people are indeed very social and commercial driven, and they build great companies, and they are like leading experts in the fields of entrepreneurship, business, you name it. And some are more the artistic kind of individual, and they create beautiful art that kind of like let us remember who we really are, let's say at a deeper soul level. So there are many different forms. However, we constantly create resistance, and I'm the living proof of that resistance. That's why I would love to share some more personal experiences with you, which of course you can use for your own insights and own self-awareness, something perhaps you could relate to. Because I also strongly believe there are like different kind of flow states. And we also have different kind of interests. And a few videos before, I made a video that was about the highly sensitive person who is also a high sensation seeker. So in that case, the high sensation seeker might find his flow states in high intensities. Things that involve, let's say, a form of extreme sports, for example, right? But the highly sensitive part of you might actually desire solitude, where you can dive deep within yourself and explore different states of your inner being, reflect on these different kind of thoughts and feelings and emotions, and look for something more quiet, something more peaceful. So let's first talk about these 4 different kind of flow states, and many people will find their flow in that way. So I found this by an online test, because first of all, right now I'm following an online course called The Habit of Ferocity, another great product by Mind Valley. And because I noticed that I seems to sabotage my own flow all the time, and I kind of like wander in between different kind of states, and I'm still like in the process of exploring exactly what is my flow, what is my highest joy that I'm here to experience and here to share with the world. So for one reason, I might experience flow in doing these type of videos. These type of videos where I feel like a lot of insights and, you know, different kind of concepts of regarding to spirituality. I seems to, you know, experience that when I go for a short, quick walk in nature, and then, you know, my hyper thinking mind kind of slows down a little bit, and that's really where things can flow through. Now, I also have noticed that if I'm going to spend, let's say, the entire day in nature, the thinking mind really tends to slow down, where I have actually experienced moments where I completely forgot the entire idea of the concept of what it is that I want to share. So that's a different flow state. Another flow state might be is that I still sometimes need my high intensities. I need to travel. I cannot really stay at one place for any, you know, much time. So if I would go into, let's say, a 9-to-5 job where I know that I have to be at that place at the same office from 9 till 6 in the evening, knowing that I will be doing that and being at the place for the upcoming year, that would simply freak me out. So that's why I need to kind of like need to be on the move, and that's why a few years ago I switches again from, you know, probably a little bit more socially accepted job, well recognized, a better paying job, to a job that paid me less money but that actually got me out in the country and traveling and stuff like that, which can also, you know, help me to reflect on a lot of things. And that sometimes again gives me feelings like, you know what, I've not been here before, now I can feel, let's say, in greater insight in my own soul. But then of course eventually, like, hey, if I had to do this 5 days a week, that would also become a drainer. And then I also figures like, wait a minute, these are very long hours for a little bit of money. So that's another resistance. But then if I go back to this type of flow, this creative flow, in regarding to videos about, you know, introspection, self-reflection, developing self-awareness, spirituality and stuff like that, I can experience flow doing that. But then there is also another part of me that likes to judge that activity as well, like, wait a minute, what you're doing is not really giving you a whole lot in return, as this is currently not really so much of a profitable business. Yes, I might recommend sometimes an online course or whatever, but that's still not really at a point of where I can say, you know what, I do not really have to trade my time for income anymore at another type of job. So as I was just talking about, I'm currently following an online course which is called The Habit of Ferocity, and that has actually everything to do with getting in the flow states. But it also goes very much into the science behind this, like we use different parts of the brain, and this flow state is like when you activate a part of your brain, you know, that release different kind of, you know, chemicals, things like, you know, dopamine and so forth, you know, that gives you that sense of pleasure. But during that course there was also a bit of an online personal test that you can follow that reveals, you know, the 4 different kind of flow states based on, of course, your personal interest, curiosities, and, you know, what gets you in the flow state. So the first one is kind of like the flow state of the, you know, the adrenaline junkie, you know, the high sensation seeker. You know, these are the type of people that, you know, gets the rush. You know, it's almost like a drug. The flow state is actually also almost like a drug. You know, you can get your addictions, of course, from real drugs, but, you know, the flow state, of course, can also generate it in a more natural way. So the first one is, you know, the high extreme sports, snowboarding, mountain climbing, maybe extreme force of catamaran sailing, which what I did, or driving race cars, you name it, right? That can get you, of course, really in this present moment where you forget about everything else, right? It's just really about that moment. So the second one is a little bit more quiet, and that is, the deep thinker. The deep thinker, like myself, he really needs his time for, self-reflection. These are the type of people that go for a gentle hike and loves to spend time in nature and just by himself in solitude and do some creative artistic work. Maybe it's into writing, maybe when he writes, everything just simply flows through. Okay, so that's another flow state. Another flow state is, the party goer. Okay, the party goer, he or she needs to get into social events, right? It's the socializer. These are the people that goes out there on social media and makes a lot of things happen, creates a lot of noise, needs to go to the next, house party, whatever, There he or she will find his flow. The last flow state, it's, the flow goer, and I could almost say it's almost like the modern hippie. These are the type of people that, find their flow in, let's say, yoga or spiritual retreats and meditation and, all the kind like almost like this new age kind of work activities that they are doing. It's like, it almost seems they are like they don't seem to have any responsibilities, they just go with the current of life itself. Now, from every part there's like, some pros and cons, but again, you can actually only get access to this online test when you are doing this online course yourself. There's a free masterclass that you can attend, and then you can have a good taste of what exactly this is about. But eventually, the real question, of course, is I can go really, really deep into this and share much more about my personal experiences, because one part that likes indeed to do all this creative thing and whatnot, and once I am, let's say, done creating a video or done writing a blog post or something, it almost feels like I get out of this flow state, I get out of this higher state, then I really fall back. I fall back in a sense, or in a feeling, in a sensation, like it feels empty. And that's also, it's also that place where I go back to my overthinking again. Let's say I've been in a forest the entire day, right? It was my flow state, no thinking and whatever. I come out of the forest and I come back in, let's say, the matrix of survival consciousness, is where you get out of the flow state and you bath yourself again in survival consciousness. So that's the thing, it's also like the drug abuser, user who gets his rush from drugs, who is high, and then when he gets out of that, he faces cruel reality, and that's why he wants to go back into that. Same, of course, with the adrenaline junkie. After he gets his rush, he struggles with perhaps the realities of life itself, and the first thing he thinks about is getting back to that rush, right? And that's also what we experience, let's say, as a deep thinker, right? We have done our creative work, we have created a project, and then after the project, life feels very blunt, very blah, bit depressing almost, you could say. And then we go back to our overthinking, and we create our resistance, and we create all sorts of fragmentations in our minds, like if I do this, then how is that going to get me that, but then I would need to get it back into a job that I hate and not enjoy doing, or pays very little, and where I have to give so much effort into that for tiny little rewards, and so forth and so forth and so forth and so forth. I'm sure you can relate to that. If so, please let me know. Simply drop a comment below. So the real question, of course, is how do you get to this flow? How do you recognize for yourself what is that flow state for you? And that is, of course, aligning yourself with your joy, allowing yourself to experience that joy, experience your divinity, and be able to express your divinity. So what could that mean for you? Please let me know, just drop a comment below and let's talk about this topic, because I feel like we are all starving more for this type of flow. We all want more of that. We want to experience more our joy. So what does it mean for you? Please let me know, simply drop a comment below, and I will see you in one of my next videos. Take care for now. Bye bye.